Go-arounds are a fundamental tool in every pilot's safety arsenal. Yet in the real world, according to the Flight Safety Foundation, they are executed in only 3% of unstable approaches. That means 97% of the time, despite being unstable, pilots continue. But why? Habit, pressure, perhaps ego, and sometimes a lack of clarity on when to make the call. The industry has made one thing clear. Go-arounds don't cause accidents. Delayed, untrained, or mismanaged go-arounds do. The FAA's 2017 SAFO 17-010 on stabilized approach and go-around awareness emphasizes that the potential for a go-around must be briefed on every approach. It's common for SOPs to define stabilized approach gates at 1,000 feet AGL and IMC or 500 feet AGL and VMC. If those gates are not met, the go-around should be initiated. For many operators, this is not just guidance, it's policy. It's what saves lives. In SAFO 10-005, the FAA stresses that either pilot may call for a go-around, and that the response must be immediate, without debate or delay. Yet the disconnect between policy and practice remains. Let's look at 3 real-world cases that illustrate the risk. First, on November 30th, 2018, a Cessna 550 Citation II flown single pilot and IMC with 11 souls on board was on final approach into Fargo, North Dakota. The approach was unstable, improperly configured, with accumulating ice and rising workload in low visibility conditions. Had stabilized approach criteria been treated as non-negotiable, they could have prompted an early go-around while time and margin remained. Instead, the decision was delayed. When the pilot finally attempted the go-around, the aircraft stalled at low altitude. The NTSB cited the pilot's failure to lower the flaps and maintain sufficient airspeed, the ice buildup and task saturation from insufficient qualifications contributing to an aerodynamic stall and loss of control. Remarkably, all on board survived with only minor injuries. Go-arounds aren't inherently dangerous. However, executing one poorly under pressure can put the aircraft at or beyond the aerodynamic edge of the normal operating envelope. Next, on October 31st, 2022, a Hawker Beechcraft 58 conducted an IFR approach in IMC near Alpharetta, Georgia. The pilot was vectored for the RNAV approach, acknowledged ATC instructions, and declared a go-around shortly after beginning the descent. But the aircraft entered a series of erratic climbs and descents, ultimately losing radar contact. Witnesses reported the aircraft emerging from the clouds in a high-speed steep descent before impact. The NTSB stated the probable cause as the pilot's loss of aircraft control for unknown reasons. Although medical factors could not be ruled out, the flight profile alone highlights how quickly performance can degrade when workload peaks exceed capacity and instrument conditions. Finally, Atlas Flight 3591. On February 23, 2019, a Boeing 767-300 freighter was descending into Houston when a go-around mode was inadvertently activated. The first officer, caught off guard, became spatially disoriented and made aggressive nose-down inputs. The aircraft entered a steep dive and impacted Trinity Bay, killing all 3 on board. The NTSB determined the first officer's inappropriate response to an inadvertent activation of the go-around mode led to spatial disorientation and nose-down control inputs that placed the airplane in a steep descent from which the crew did not recover. 3 very different scenarios, one survivable, the other 2 not, but all shared a common thread: instability during go-around, degraded awareness, and breakdown in execution. The Citation Jet Pilots Association, CJP, addressed this by introducing Safe to Land in 2022. Their SOPs added a yellow zone decision buffer, encouraging pilots to initiate a go-around if they do not meet the designated stable approach criteria limit before it becomes critical. Research supports this. Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's findings, published in 2023, show that pilots often hesitate to initiate a go-around not due to lack of knowledge, but because of flawed mental models reinforced by undertraining. Mental readiness must complement procedural knowledge. Decisiveness isn't instinct. It's developed through scenario-based practice. The NTSB echoes this in its 2019 Safety Alert 077. If the approach doesn't meet criteria, the go-around must happen immediately. Delay kills, consistency saves. That raises an essential question. So, what does meaningful action look like for operators and flight departments? A clear, simple example: take control of your training. APS's collaborative program developed with CJP, the Citation Jet Pilots Association, is one such initiative. Created alongside Textron accident investigators and CJP safety leaders, the program targets key risks including go-around dynamics, automation mismanagement, and post-thrust pitch-up events. Training is tailored to citation platforms and built around class-specific simulator sessions, immersive flight exercises, and mutually selected accident case studies. This program reflects a broader mindset APS instills through immersive upset prevention and recovery training, or simply UPRT, delivered with purpose. Consistent with FAA Advisory Circular 120-109A, training must progressively address recognition and recovery from full stalls using realistic, scenario-based methods that emphasize angle of attack reduction, pitch control, and surprise recovery contexts. At APS, pilots begin in all-attitude aircraft where high-fidelity motion cues, startle, and surprise are encountered in real-world aerodynamic conditions. This live flight foundation enhances the realism and effectiveness of subsequent simulator training, where class-specific advanced simulation links those experiences to precise cockpit behaviors and flight path control. Pilots then advance to type-specific virtual reality environments for deeper scenario-based decision-making training. This structured progression ensures mental modeling, flight control discipline, and judgment are accessible under pressure, exactly when they're needed most. The targeted outcome is always the same. The go-around is not Plan B. It's a core skill, a command decision that must be briefed, anticipated, and executed with clarity and precision. This CJP-aligned UPRT program reinforces that go-arounds are not failures. They are the correct outcome when stabilized approach criteria are not met. The CJP Safe To Land framework assumes that a go-around is a practiced, confident maneuver, a cornerstone of flight discipline, not a fallback. APS's integrated UPRT solution empowers crews to confront these threats with clarity and skill. Through simulation, scenario development, and in-flight exposure, pilots master go-arounds under pressure so that decision-making is immediate and execution is instinctive. The industry does not need more reminders alone. It needs readiness, real readiness, the kind built through training, just not awareness. Go-arounds must be briefed, practiced, embedded in muscle memory. If the approach isn't right, go around. That decision isn't weakness, it's leadership. So in closing, every go-around executed with confidence is a mission completed with professionalism. And every pilot who trains deliberately for the go-around, under pressure, in context, with precision, adds another layer of control, safety, and reliable execution to every approach they fly. This is how readiness is built, through habit, discipline, and resolve. You got this.